Okay, so now we're going to continue on with solving rational equations, and this will be part 3. All right, so just kind of reviewing something from the previous two lessons, part 1 and part 2. Um, so remember, when solving a rational equation, first thing you need to do is factor your denominators, and then find the restriction. Once you factor your denominators, also we need to find the LCD. And then you can multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD. That's to clear the denominators, to clear the fractions. And then you're going to solve the resulting equation. And then always check your solution um, with always compare your solution with the restrictions. So that way, if any of the solutions you got was the restriction, you cannot use it. Okay. All right. So in a previous lesson, though, we saw that when you solve the equation, there's only one possible solution, and it was a restriction. You just said no solution. Okay? So this time we're going to look at a situation where you solve the equation. There are two possible solutions, and one of them is a restriction. So then the question is, well, how do you write your answer? Okay, so that's one of the things we're going to talk about. All right, so let's look at an example. So let's solve this equation. All right, so we're going to solve these equations. So these are rational equations. So remember, rational equation contain rational expressions. All right, so we have 2 divided by x minus 2 plus 1 equal, and let's say x divided by x plus 3. Let's say that was our, um, actually, I'm sorry, x plus 2, excuse me, x plus 2. All right, x plus 2. Okay, so first thing you got to do is factor your denominators, and notice that the denominators, all three denominators, really this is 1 over 1. So all three denominators I can't do anything with, and so the LCD would be x minus 2 times, remember this is really 1 over 1, times 1 times x plus 2. So the LCD is x minus 2 times x plus 2. All right. Now, we got to find our restrictions. Okay, find the restrictions. So what is it that x cannot equal? Well, if you look at this denominator, when is x minus 2 equal to 0? That's what I'm asking. Where is x minus 2 equal to 0? Well, x minus 2 is equal to 0 when x equals 2. So that's one of your restrictions. And you can always check yourself. 2 minus 2 is 0. Over here, where is, now this is a 1, so that's never going to be 0 because it doesn't even contain the variable. It's just a number. Here, x plus 2 is going to equal 0 when x equals a negative 2. So my restriction, I have two restrictions. X can equal 2 and x cannot equal a negative 2. All right, so there are two restrictions. Okay, so now remember the next step is to multiply both sides by the LCD. Right, so this is what we're going to get. I'm going to go ahead and, since this is two fractions right here, I'm going to put that in parentheses. So I'm going to get 2 divided by x minus 2 plus 1 equal, and then x divided by x plus 2. So again, all I did was I rewrote this right here. Notice that's all I did was just rewrite the original equation, but I put the left side in parentheses because there are two fractions here. So everything in here, everything on this side, has to be multiplied by the LCD. So to be on the safe side, we can close it in parentheses. So x minus 2, x plus 2, so you can multiply both sides by the LCD. Times x minus 2, x plus 2. So what I do to one side, I do to the other. Okay? Alright, then distribute. Alright, don't do this in your head, actually work it out. So you get x minus 2 times x plus 2 times 2 divided by x minus 2 plus, and then the LCD times 1, so times 1 times x minus 2 times x plus 2 equal, and over here, see right here, these x plus 2's divide out, and you get x times x minus 2. So that's what I end up with. Okay? So x times x minus 2. Over here, these x minus 2's divide out. So you get factors of 1 in their place, and you end up with 2 times x plus 2. So that's 2 times x plus 2. All right, plus, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. Now notice 1 times x minus 2 is x minus 2. And so we get x minus 2 times x plus 2 equals x times x minus 2. So all I did was I just rewrote this right here. And I put the coefficient 2 in front of x plus 2. So you have 1 times x plus 2 is x plus 2. X plus 2 times 2 is 2x plus 2. 2 times x plus 2. Alright, so now I'm just going to distribute these right here. That part's easy right here. So that's 2x plus 4. Alright, now over here, think about how you're going to multiply this out. So notice you're multiplying two binomials. So remember, you have to use the FOIL method there. So x times x is x squared. The outer, x times a positive 2 is a positive 2x. The inner, a negative 2 times x is a negative 2x. And the last, a negative 2 times a positive 2 is a negative 4. And that's going to equal, over here, you can distribute, you get x times x is x squared. X times a negative 2 is a negative 2x. So that's where I'm at. Okay, combining like terms on the left. Let's see, I get x squared, that's a plus here. So I get x squared. Alright, now these, see this 2x minus 2x, that's 0. So they're opposites, so you get a sum of 0. But I still have this 2x here, so plus 2x. 4 and a negative 4, that's 0. So when I combine all of these terms right here, all I end up with is x squared plus 2x. And then that's going to equal x squared minus 2x over here. Alright, now bringing, now if you look at this, you may think that this is a quadratic equation. Alright, what's going to happen when you subtract x squared from both sides, what's going to happen is that the x squareds go away. They're no longer an x squared. So when I subtract x squared, I get x squared minus x squared, which is 0, and 0 plus 2x is 2x, equal x squared minus x squared is 0, and 0 minus 2x is negative 2x. So really, I went from a quadratic equation to a linear equation. Alright, now be a little bit careful. Remember, you got to bring all the variables to one side when solving a linear equation. Bring all the variables to one side, constants to the other. Well, you don't have any constants here. All you have are variable terms. So just bring them to the left side. So add 2x to both sides. Add 2x here. 2x plus 2x is 4x. Equal. Now make sure you don't leave that blank. Something is there. A negative 2x and positive 2x is 0. So 0's here. Alright, and then to get x by itself, you're going to divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times x is x. And then 0 divided by 4 is 0. So you get x to be 0. And notice that this 0 is not a restriction. So your solution is x equal 0. Right, that's your solution. And notice all these steps. There are a lot of steps here you went through, and you could have easily messed up anywhere along the way. So you got to be careful. Right, so that was the first example. All right, let's look at this one. All right, let's suppose we had, let's see. All right, let's suppose we had y divided by 2y plus 2 plus 2y minus 16 divided by 4y plus 4, and that's going to equal 2y minus 3 divided by y plus 1. Alright, so let's suppose we had that. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, again, this is a rational equation. It's made up of rational expressions. And so the first thing you're going to do is factor your denominators. Alright, so notice this time I can. In the previous problems I could not, but now I can. So here I could factor out a 2, so I get 2 times y plus 1 Here I can factor out 4, so I get 4 times y plus 1, and this is y plus 1. Now finding the LCD here is not that difficult, because look at your coefficients. You have a 2 and a 4, and really this right here, if you want to think about it, that's really a 1 right here. So the LCD of 2, 4, and 1 is 4. And then your next factor is y plus 1. There's one factor here, one factor here, one factor here, so I'm going to need just 1. So this is your LCD, 4 times y plus 1. Leave it factored. Don't distribute this, leave it factored. We learned that in previous lessons. Alright, so now we got to find the restriction. Okay, find the restriction. Just look at your LCD if you want to. Where's this denominator 0? Or where's this LCD 0? Well, if you set this thing equal to 0, watch. If you set this thing equal to 0, I remember when zero factor property, when you have two factors whose product is 0, one of them has to be 0. But remember, 4 is never equal to 0. This is never equal to 0. So all you do is take y plus 1, and you set that equal to 0, and so you get y equal negative 1. Alright, so that's your restriction. Y cannot equal negative 1. And it makes sense because, look, if you go back, let's take to the original. 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. And it works the same way here. Okay? 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So that's your restriction. That's your only restriction. Alright, so the next step is to multiply both sides of this rational equation by your LCD. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just rewrite this though. So I'm going to have y over 2 times y plus 1. Make sure you write it to where you have your denominators already factored. Make sure they're already factored. Plus 2y minus 16 over 4 times y plus 1. Alright, I'll put that in parentheses. We do have two terms here, and we'll multiply by the LCD. 4 times y plus 1, just like this, equal, and over here you have 2y minus 3 over y plus 1 times the LCD. 4 times y plus 1. Okay, so that's where I'm at. Alright, now I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to distribute, so I get 4 times y plus 1 times the first fraction, 2 times y divided by 2 times y plus 1, plus, and then the LCD times this fraction, so that's 4 times y plus 1 times 2y minus 16 divided by 4 times y plus 1 equal, and over here, just go ahead and reduce this, so y plus 1 in the denominator reduces with y plus 1 in the numerator, and then all you're left with is, now be careful, if you're not careful, you're going to say 4 times a negative 3 is a negative 12, and you're going to say 2y minus 12, and that's not true. So it's 4 times this whole thing, so really this is what you have. So make sure you understand this. It's 4 times 2y minus 3, just like this. All right, so 4 times 2y minus 3. 4 times 1 is 4, and so that's 4. If you need to, put that in parentheses, just like this. Okay? 4 times 2y minus 3. Alright, reducing these divide out. See the y plus 1s? And the 2 and the 4 can reduce. So 2 and 2 is 1, 2 and 4 is 2. And so here's what you have. You have 2 times 1 times y, which is 2y, divided by 1, which is 2y, plus over here, if you reduce, y plus 1s divide out. These 4s divide out as well. And look at what you have. 1 times 1 times 2y minus 16 is 2y minus 16. Equal. And then over here distributing, I get 4 times 2y is 8y. And then 4 times a negative 3 is a negative 12. So that's where I'm at. So notice I went from a rational equation to a linear equation. So combining like terms, 2y plus 2y is 4y. Minus 16 equal 8y minus 12. Now subtracting 4y from both sides, I get 4y minus 4y is 0. 0 minus 16 is a negative 16 equal 8y minus 4y is 4y. minus 12. And then adding 12 to both sides. A negative 16 plus 12 is a negative 4. So I got negative 4 equal 4y. And then just go ahead and rewrite this. And dividing both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times y is y. I get negative 1 because negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. Alright, so remember, look at all this work you had to do. All this work you had to do. And that's the work you got to show. So it's quite a bit. And you could have easily messed up anywhere. So y equal negative 1, but you notice that y equal negative 1 is the restriction. Because when I plug in negative 1 for y into these denominators, I get 0. So you're going to say the solution in the blank, you're going to say no solution. That's what you're going to say. No solution. Alright, now it's number 2. Okay, let's look at this one. Alright, suppose we had, suppose we had this, number 3. Suppose we had 4r minus 4 divided by r squared plus 5r minus 14 plus 2 divided by r plus 7 equal 1 divided by r minus 2. Alright, so 4r minus 4 divided by r squared plus 5r minus 14 plus 2 divided by r plus 7 plus 1 divided by r minus 2. Alright, now remember the first thing we have to do is factor the denominator. So this right here, when I factor this, I'm going to get r plus 7 times r minus 2. And always check yourself. R times r is r squared. A positive 7 times a negative 2 is a negative 14. And the outer is a negative 2r. The inner is a positive 7r. When I add them up, I get positive 5r. And so now I can find the LCD. So the LCD, or every factor has to be part of the LCD. And if it occurs in more than one denominator, you use the one with the largest exponent. So this is one factor of r plus 7, one factor of r plus 7, and the others does not have any. So I need an r plus 7. The next factor is r minus 2. I have 1. I don't have any here. I have 1, so I need 1. And so there's your LCD. So the LCD is r plus 7 times r minus 2. Alright, now let's find the restriction. You can find the restriction just from your LCD. So basically, you're asking yourself, just look at each factor. Where's this factor right here equal to 0? Just look at the factor. Look at each factor. So r plus 7 is equal to 0 when r equal negative 7. So r cannot equal negative 7. Then look at your next factor, r minus 2. Where is that equal to 0? Because remember, you're trying to find out where are these denominators equal to 0. That's what you're trying to find out. So r minus 2 is going to be 0 when r is 2. So that's your restriction. R cannot equal 2 as well. So r cannot equal negative 7, and r cannot equal 2. Okay? So, let's go ahead and multiply both sides by the LCD. So I'm going to, I need some room right here, so I'm going to go ahead and put that here. Alright, and then make sure you put in, instead of writing it as r squared plus 5r plus 14, make sure you put it in factored form. So we get 4r minus 4 divided by r plus 7 times r minus 2 plus 2 divided by r plus 7, and that is going to be multiplied by the LCD, x plus 7, x minus 2. Okay? Now you don't have to. You see how you could have factored out a 4 here? You don't want to. Just leave it alone. Leave it as 4 minus 4. So you just want to make sure your denominators are factored. You just want to make sure that your denominators are factored. So you can first of all find the restrictions and then find the LCD. Over here on the other side, I'm going to have 1 over r minus 2 times the LCD. X plus 7, x minus 2. I'm sorry, I said I put some x's here. That should be r plus r plus 7, r minus 2, r plus 7, r minus 2. All right, now distributing, I get r plus 7 times r minus 2 times the first fraction, r plus 7 times r minus 2, plus r plus 7 times r minus 2 times the second fraction. So r plus 7 times r minus 2 times 2 divided by r plus 7 equal, and over here, I'm just going to go ahead and reduce these right here. So these divide out, r plus r minus 2's, and you're left with 1 times r plus 7, which is r plus 7. That's what you're left with. Okay. Now, over here, let's see, notice that both of these divide out with these. And so you're left with r 4r minus 4. Plus, and then over here, the r plus 7's divide out, and you get 2 times r minus 2. So 2 times r minus 2 equal, and then r plus 7. And then distributing here, get rid of the parentheses, I get 4r minus 4 plus 2 times r is 2r, and then 2 times negative 2 is a negative 4 equal r plus 7. So notice I went from a rational equation to a linear equation. So combining like terms, 4r and a 2r is a 6r, a negative 4 and a negative 4 is a negative 8, and I get r plus 7. Subtracting r from both sides, remember to solve a linear equation, you bring all the variables to one side, constants to the other. So subtract r from both sides, 6r minus r is 5r, minus 8 equal, and then here the r minus r is 0, 0 plus 7 is 7, adding 8 to both sides, and negative 8 and 8, 0, I get 5r equal 15, and then divide both sides by 5, divide both sides by 5, 5 divided by 5 is 1, 1 times r is r, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. All right, and notice that 3 is not a restriction, so I'm good. Okay? All right, so your solution would be r equal 3. Now, if you wanted to check this, if you want to check, no, let's just check it. So go back to the original problem. So we're checking to make sure that r equal 3 is a solution. So the original problem was 4r minus 4 over r squared plus 5r minus 14 plus 2 divided by r plus 7 equal 1 divided by r minus 2. Okay, so that was the original. So wherever we see the variable r, I'm going to plug in 3. So I get 4 times 3 minus 4 over 3 squared plus 5 times 3 minus 14. So 3 squared plus 5 times 3 minus 14 plus 2 divided by, again, where we see the variable r, you plug in 3. 3 plus 7 equal, and you will see that's going to equal 1 divided by 3 minus 2. Over here, that's a 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. So my numerator is 8. 3 squared is 9. That's a 9 right here. That's 9. Plus 15. So 9 plus 15 is 24. 24 minus 14 is 10. Plus, that's going to be 2 divided by 10. 2. 3 plus 7 is 10. And again, I want to see if that's going to equal 1 over 1. Remember, 1 over 1 is 1. Well, look at this. 8 tenths, the numbers are the same here. So 8 tenths plus 2 tenths is 10 tenths, which equals 1. So 1 does equal 1. So r equal 3 is a solution. Okay? All right, so that's going to take care of this part. Now notice in this part, when we went from a, and you can go back and look at all the others, but when we went from a rational equation to this part right here, they were all linear. So these were all linear equations. So in the next part, part 4, we're going to look at some problems where we go from a rational equation to a quadratic equation. Okay, so that'll be the next one.